All right, guys, I have not been on for a little while, so I wanted to come on and say hello. So those of you who paid attention, I took about a month's hiatus, and I want to say thank you for those of you who reached out. It was really, really sweet. I know you guys follow a lot of different people, so it's nice to know that your presence is missed. And so those who sent messages and things like that, really appreciate that. I think it's important to listen to your body. Sometimes you need to take a break. There's this culture of just go, 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 go. But sometimes you just need to chill. And so I always want to make sure that I'm in the best headspace when I'm creating content, and especially going live. Sorry, guys, I just bumped the stand. And so thank you for your patience. Amber says, happy to see you. Thank you, love. I appreciate that. So as a big thank you, I'm going to be doing a just answering questions tonight. Some of you had sent in some questions, and I'm thinking about setting it up to where you can email them through the week, because I used to do it back in the day, and then answering them on the live stream so that I have them in advance. But you can drop them tonight live just using that little question icon at the bottom. So it looks like a speaking bubble with a question mark in there. But drop your questions and I will answer those that I can. Good evening, Foxy. Nice to see you. She's in New York. By the way, guys, you know the drill. Let me know where you're watching from, what city and state, and I can shout you out. Shout out to my buddy Lateris. I saw him on here. He is doing some amazing things with the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Congrats to him. That's my big brother. I like to take a lot of encouragement from him, see what he's doing with his platform. But anyway, before you guys, or I should say while you're submitting your questions, I want to get into the topic of the last reel that I did. I was talking about a show that I was watching. And, oh, I forgot to ask you guys to give your city and state. So shout out to Twin Cities, Minnesota. We have West Bend, Wisconsin. Do you have a cool accent in Wisconsin? I would love to know. So I was watching this show, and it was just a typical dating show. I won't plug them because it doesn't matter which one. But essentially, you know, it's like the real world in the sense that men are more of the pursuers. So guys are coming in, and you know how the shows are. These are typically gorgeous women, beautiful hair, nice bodies, you know, great personalities, what have you. So it wasn't that these women were not attractive women. Shout out to Atlanta. And so as the different people went on dates, because you have your initial attraction, right? So a guy might see a woman and she might maybe just catch his eye physically. But then when they go on a date, maybe he goes on a date with multiple different people. After a while, he starts to narrow down the person that he wants. So when you're watching the show as a viewer, you know, you just see the whole process, and it's a no accent. You see the whole process and it's entertaining. But when you're the individual woman, it's very easy to get in your head if you're not the one chosen. So let's say he goes on 3 different dates. He might not think that the first woman or the second woman is terrible, but there's something about the third woman, you know, the conversation's flowing, they have a lot in common. And then of course there's that thing that you can't put your finger on, that je ne sais quoi, that just that connection, that spark. And so when you watch the interviews with women, and I know a lot of them are staged, but I've seen enough women in real life to see that this is very similar. It's easy to feel down on yourself because you're not picked. And so one of the best things to do to put this into perspective, because when you get into your head, you can spiral. When you think about guys you've gone on dates with, they might not be terrible. They might not be rude. They might not be these horrible creatures, but for whatever reason, you just didn't feel that connection. Or maybe you met someone else and you felt it more with them. So we as women have to really get out of our heads and, you know, don't sit at home wondering, oh my goodness, well, why didn't he call? What did I do? And it's tough because sometimes there are things that maybe we can do that are turnoffs. But if you're a pretty well-rounded person, you're in touch, you know, you have good manners and things like that, chances are they're just not picking you for whatever reason. And so I want to encourage women to not take it personally. The other thing is that a man can tell, he knows when he is serious or not. So I have actually heard this multiple times. Guys meet women that they know are wifeys. Like that's a wifey right there. And they can tell it's a good quality woman. And so these men, because not all men are jerks, these men are actually compassionate enough to not take up her time. So you might be getting skipped over because you're so amazing, because that guy knows he's not in a position to be with you. Maybe he's not done playing around, because that's fine. If the guy doesn't want to get married, there's no crime against that. But he might be skipping you because he realizes, oh, I'm not in a position to actually do right by her. Or it could be that he can tell he's not on the level. Maybe he's emotionally ready, but he's not on a level where he can provide. And as women, it's pretty easy for us when we get in the relationship. When it comes to a man, he's having to calculate, okay, if I get serious with this person, eventually I'm having to buy an engagement ring. I'm going to have to finance a wedding, because nowadays it's usually, the parents aren't necessarily doing it often. And then if we have kids, which typically happens a couple years later, that's a bill. Then you have your house if he doesn't already have it. So there's a big financial piece. So it's a really big deal to settle down with a woman. So I just wanted to encourage you guys. That was the motivation for that reel. Wanted to encourage you guys to get out of your head. So keep doing the work. Keep doing the work that you need to do. But when you're going into it, and this was helpful for me to take the pressure off. A lot of times, by the way, if you're just joining in, I forgot to pin this on here. Duh. Hang on, guys. So I'm answering questions this evening. So let me pin this. I was like, nobody pinned their question. Okay, sorry, it's saying bad connection. So let me just pin this. So use the little question box if you would like to submit a question. Some men are also too insecure to realize they deserve good women as well. Oh, there are a lot of insecure men, definitely. So with women, let's say, for example, a guy asks the woman out and she has the date coming up. She could be stressing out about her outfit, stressing out about how she's going to act on the date and all this stuff. The reality is he's pretty much either going to like you or not. So unless you're just, obviously there are major don'ts that I do teach in my class, certain things you can come on too strong or things like that. But for the most part, your general personality is going to vibe with him or it's not. So to try to go through all these, mental gymnastics of trying to be this perfect person, it's not going to work. If he is interested, your questions, guys, make sure you submit them using the little button, because otherwise they just go up the feed and then it's hard to scroll and find it. So if you can submit it there. Hey, shout out to Howard who just joined us. But essentially you could have a terrible date, right? You could spill things, you could trip, you could do all these things that are quote unquote blunders, but if the attraction is there, if the energy is right, it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, you just have to remember, this is meant to be fun. This is meant to be enjoyable. And at the end of the day, even if it's not a love connection, you should still be able to have fun on the date. So even if it means how you're dressing, dress comfortably so you can have fun. That is something that I notice a lot. We are so in our heads as women that it can take away from our natural personality. And that's something that a lot of guys really enjoy, is when a woman can just, go with the flow. Okay, this didn't work. Or if he messes up, maybe he didn't realize the restaurant needed the reservation and you're able to go with the flow. Or maybe he mispronounced the wine he was ordering, trying to impress you. When you could just relax and let your personality shine through. And then it's that, it's the, what is it called? It takes the stress off when it just is or isn't going to work. And you could think of it like real estate. You might go look at houses. There might be nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't grab you when you see it. So don't be down on yourself. Okay. Ooh, this is a good one. What are your thoughts on secrecy versus privacy while dating? People often conceal everything and come off as secretive. That is very interesting. And you guys give examples. Shout out to SD. Hey, SD. Give examples of some things that you have heard of people hiding, or what you hide. So I like to be more so on the transparent side, and I find it attractive when people are also transparent with me. So let's just say if I'm getting to know someone, I think we all do, Victoria. She said, I think I overthink too much. I need to chill. let's say, for example, if I'm talking to somebody and they are unavailable, or, we normally talk at a certain time and they don't. I actually like when they say, oh, hey, I was doing XYZ. And sometimes I've said things like, oh, you don't have to tell me. And if a person says, oh, I like to be transparent. I like that. I really enjoy that. Bobby says, where have you been? I know, I acknowledged it at the beginning. I took about a month hiatus. So I apologize. But I appreciate it. You guys are very sweet. Those of you who have been checking on me and whatnot. Okay, and then we have, oh, hey, Lynette from Little Rock. I always like to say hi to her because that's where my peeps are originally from. I don't know. Is it going out, guys? Because I got a message twice about the internet not being, the connection not being great. So, okay, so getting back to the question, so I'll repeat it back again. Oh, secrecy and privacy. So I think if, unless it's something that can, let's say when you first meet, especially with a woman, I wouldn't be recommending giving out addresses or even really telling where you work or things like that until you know that you're safer on that person. But I think that transparency overall is a really great thing. And I don't know, I've had questions with that. When I'm in a relationship, I would think it was weird to have passwords, from my spouse. But at the beginning, I think the further you get into knowing the person, the less hidden information should be. He said, I definitely searched your page, was wondering what happened, thought you started a new relationship. LOL, just kidding. You just thought I would ditch y'all if I got a bae, huh? Oh, that's funny. Love at first sight says, agreed, people want to see how things go and don't bring you around their friends, when in reality they're just playing the field and hiding things. Yeah, I feel like the way you start, hey Tay, I feel like the way you start is how you finish. And so, I'm a little bit more unconventional when it comes to this idea. And this is where, when I was talking about in one of my YouTube videos, I think it might have been the relationship without titles or dating without titles. I don't look at relationships like this, which is how a lot of people do, where it's like, I'm single, and then it's this huge jump to I'm committed. So there's this behavior, and then there's this huge jump to how I'm when I'm in the relationship. For me, it's more like this. So there's not necessarily a specific starting point in which my behavior shifts. So let's take a dating app or somebody who's just in the real world and there are multiple phone numbers, right? So at the very, very, very beginning, there's no loyalty to anybody. There's just people. But you will pretty quickly start to see when one person is sticking out, whether it's them putting in more effort or you're just vibing with that person. Naturally and organically, you start to have a different type of relationship with that person. And so this kind of ties in with the transparency thing. Not to say that I commit to the person or give them relationship benefits, but I start to give them the respect that I would if I was in the relationship. Does that make sense? So, and I also like to look at do the hypocrisy test. I might technically be okay in doing something, but how would I feel if I was on the other side of it? So, if that makes sense. All right, let's see the next question. Oh, that one's gone. Okay. How do you shoot your shot properly to a man to let him know you're interested? Interesting. Okay, so I think that with women, you can literally shoot your shot as far as just boldly coming up and saying, hey buddy, I like you, let's go out, can I take you out? Most of the people following my page, I'm assuming, are not comfortable with that. I know I'm personally not comfortable with that, just the way I was brought up and how I'm wired. But I think that just giving attention goes really, really far. Now, some guys say that they can't pick up on the signals, but I'd be a little concerned if a guy couldn't pick up on a signal. I had someone tell me one time, this is probably over 10 years ago, I was working somewhere, and he said, I'll give you a little bit of advice. He said, if you give a man any attention or smile at him, he's going to think he has a chance. So a lot of times, if a guy is interested, he's just going to look for an opportunity. So I think sometimes the best way to go, if you don't want to be overt, is to make yourself available. So let's say, for example, if you're in a group setting and you're with a bunch of your friends, and let's say it's a social event, purposefully take yourself out of the group a little bit. That's what I would do, whether it's going to the restroom, going to the bar, because that could be a little bit awkward for somebody to try to approach you in front of a whole group of women. And some women can be really nasty, so they don't know, if how they're going to be treated. So that makes it a little bit easier. Sometimes just having a conversation or making eye contact is enough of a green light for the guy to come over. It'll be interesting to see what the guys say. So guys, feel free to chip in, the men who are on here. But I know for me, it's more so just getting on someone's radar. And what's interesting is sometimes I think women will think, oh, I'm not being obvious enough, that he's not interested. And so, hang on guys, my allergies are kicking in. So I think sometimes you just have to know that he's not always going to take the bait. He might have seen the bait, but he might have passed. Hey Carl. Hey John. Really good to see you. Hey Mike. I see a lot of my OG Facebook people on here. Excuse me. So yeah, I would just put yourself in the mix and let him take it from there. Guys are pretty simplistic when it comes to that. I don't think that we need to, put on bells and whistles. Those of you, keep the questions coming, guys, and make sure you use the little icon so that they don't get lost up in the shuffle. I'll answer this one that's in the feed right now because it's right in front of me and I'm caught up. Do you believe in single till married? Like, keep your options open. Okay, I love this question. Yes, Charles, thank you for saying that. Actually, Marius, I'm going to add this. He said men like compliments as well. That is a great way to get somebody's attention and not be over the top. It doesn't have to be, well, it probably shouldn't be something that's overtly sexual. It could be as simple as, oh, that's a great shirt, or I love those shoes, or something like that, or compliment their car. That will definitely put you on his radar and make somebody feel great. Okay, so keeping your options open. But we would like to know you're approachable. Yes, that's great. Okay, so keeping your options open. I have had this debate. We've actually debated it in some of my older live streams on YouTube, but the keeping the options open. Ooh, big shout out to Bishop Blakes who just joined in. Shout out to you, one of my faves here. That's another good compliment. She said, or telling a man he smells good, or smells amazing. Okay, so what was I saying? The keeping your options open. For me, I think that it sounds great on paper, and as a coach, it would be great to tell people to keep your options open. But thank you, Bishop Blakes. So for me, it's never been practical. If I am interested in let's just say I have 4 people that I'm getting to know. And guys, make sure you drop your questions with the little question icon so it stays within the little section. I don't want to miss your question, Amber. If I'm getting to know someone and there are other people on my radar, it doesn't take long for me, if the guy is putting in energy and time, it doesn't take long for there to be a person who's in the lead. So it's very difficult for me to entertain one person and then keep entertaining other people. So, and I have tried this. In using dating apps or things like that, I will literally say, hey, I'm getting to know someone. I'd like to focus my energy there, just to give the person an expectation that I'm not going to be going back and forth. And I've done this where I've checked out something, it didn't end up panning out, and then I circled back. And I actually got a lot of respect from the guy, and it lets that person know, hey, I'm not playing around with people's feelings and emotions. I have been told that, from a lot of people, that they think it's better to have multiples. And I can understand that, so you don't get invested too early. But I keep looking at it from an authentic perspective. It doesn't feel fair to me to keep talking to the third person, okay, because there's me and then the first person I'm talking to. That third person, it doesn't seem fair that I'm keeping him on the hook because I'm truly interested in the other person. And I always use the hypocrisy test for things like this. How would I feel if I was getting to know someone and I'm starting to catch feelings, but he has a girl who is in his first place, or a woman in his first place spot, but he's just keeping his options open? you know, you think about back in the day when people courted, they weren't courting multiple people. They set their eyes on one person and they saw it through. You know, usually it's to see if you want to get married. Folks can unintentionally ghost by entertaining too many. No, absolutely. It really becomes difficult. And especially if you're on a dating app, you know, you can have 12, 15 guys saying good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And it's not realistic to try to keep up with all of those people. So I know it's not the popular answer. And people have said, well, yeah, but if things don't work out, you have to start over. But I'm thinking this isn't like an assembly line where you're going to get behind. You just get back on the app, or, you know, because they have the feature I know on Hinge where you can pause it so no new people come in, or you could circle back to somebody if you've done like I did and say, hey, you know, this didn't really work out, but we did have something kind of interesting here. So, and I think it's kind of unhealthy to be worried about having downtime. I think it's okay to have some downtime in between. He said, I'm guilty of unintentionally ghosting ladies. Thank you so much, Maurice. So yeah, I just try to treat people like humans. And I think a lot of times at the very beginning, because we're not completely emotionally connected to the person, it's easy to see them as just these things like, oh, this is a notification on my phone. No, it's a whole person on the other end who is possibly developing feelings. I have my camera set up on the table and I keep touching it. So I'm sorry guys if it keeps shaking. It seems like the only people getting dates on these dating sites the only people getting dates are on these dating sites. I've never done them. Oh, what's your take on them and what are legit ones that aren't just to hook up? Sorry guys, I keep feeling like a broken record. Make sure you drop your questions in with the little question icon so that I don't have to scroll, go backwards and scroll. Okay, so I'm a huge advocate for dating apps only because they are fabulous for people who are geographically undesirable. And what I mean by that is people who are not in a place where you're going to bump into someone. So if you live in a high traffic area where you're constantly seeing people at grocery stores, the mall, coffee shops, you know, you're in a big business area and you're always seeing people, you're traveling a lot and you're in airports, then you can organically meet people. But let's say if someone works on a farm or they're just really deep in the suburbs, or maybe like I know for me, where I used to live, the area did not have a lot of black people, and that's what I personally am attracted to. So I wasn't going to sorry guys, the internet keeps giving messages. I wasn't going to organically meet someone, and my friends tease me because they say, you're a hermit, you don't go anywhere, you know, no one's going to fall in through your roof. So I am not opposed to dating apps. A lot of people have negative things to say about them, but I think they are people. They're just people. These aren't, you know, robots. These are real people, and it's just technology connecting you to another real person. So I think that if the best thing is use that as a tool to get off technology. So, hey, Monica, do me a favor and drop your question in with the little question icon so that it doesn't get lost in the feed. So I recommend using it as just a connection and then as quickly get off. Guys say a lot that women stay on there for a really, really long time. You know, they stay on the app. They're scared to get off the app. They're scared to meet in person. They're scared to FaceTime. And that's something that you should definitely get out of because that's not normal in real life. In real life, you're going to see each other and interact. So let's see. So yes, I'm a fan. I hate to plug since I'm not, you know, sponsored by them or anything, but I personally like Hinge, and I'll tell you the reason why I like Hinge. One, it doesn't seem to have a lot of the hookup culture compared to like a what's the one that's like completely the hookup? Oh my goodness, what is it called? I think it starts with a T. Oh my, Tinder. I kept thinking of Twitter. Tinder. So there's that. And then I know Bumble has the thing where the women get to pick first. But I have found there seem to be a lot of quality people on, thank you, appreciate that, Montoya. Seems to be a lot of just normal people on Hinge. That's what I see. The other reason I really enjoy that app is because it has a built-in phone feature and video feature. So if you're like me, I'm super stingy with my phone number. and I like to get a chance to actually have a conversation, but I don't want to commit to giving my phone number. So, and I like FaceTiming, but again, you have to commit to the phone number. So with Hinge, they have the built-in phone and video, so you can bypass that feeling, because you wouldn't just randomly give your phone number out in person, so you would get a chance to get a feel for that person or what have you. So that's the one I recommend for what it's worth. Feel free to sponsor me, Hinge. All right, so let's see. What do you think? Okay, I think, and I believe that I answered this question just coincidentally. Date multiple people or one person at a time. I say at the beginning, give a chance to as many people as possible. But when you get interested in one, I would focus that attention there. But you have to do the work to make sure that you are not getting emotionally caught up beforehand. And I think that's why a lot of times women are encouraged to entertain multiple people, so that they don't get caught up. You should not be giving that. You should not be giving the attention to one man until that one man has stepped up. So I'll put that huge caveat with a big asterisk in the air. If he shows that, I believe that you should reward him with giving him your attention. That does not mean to not make him still earn your affection. And I'll kind of go into this a little bit, and this is what my class covers, but there's a difference between doing all the work and just opening every door, so to speak, and just make it easy for him to walk through, as opposed to letting things happen organically where he has to open certain doors. When a woman has certain, not barriers, what's the word? Like, he should not know everything about you on the first night. There should be a little bit of effort. And I don't mean playing games or, being inauthentic. But what happens is if you have standards, people can't just step to you immediately. There has to be a rapport built. There has to be trust built. There has to be, like they say, there are levels to this. And also mystery, exactly. So if you're just an open book and you're ready to give him all the keys to the kingdom the first night, it will backfire, because it doesn't feel like it's been given exclusively to him. It doesn't feel like there's anything special. Anyone can get this deal. So subconsciously, it's telling him that you're for everyone, as they say, for the streets. And then also, just psychologically, there's some intrigue there. And that's just human psychology. It's the same with us women. We kind of like, it's our human nature. So, I think that a little mystery goes a long way. But I wouldn't play games. Absolutely. Okay, what do you think about long distance relationships? Hate them. Hate them. I think the good part about long distance relationships is that it forces you to communicate, because that's all you have. I think that when you're close to somebody, it's in close proximity, it's easy to just slip into being affection, the physical affection. So you could, for example, go spend a whole day with someone and be watching movies or hanging out and cuddling, and you've not gotten to know the person any more than you did earlier that day. But if you're talking to someone on the phone, you really go deep, because that's all you have. So I think that's the only benefit of the long distance, but I don't like it. Quality time is my top love language. So if I cannot see someone with consistency, that is a huge, huge turnoff. And that is a perfect transition to the poll that I did. I'm going to be posting a reel about this. But I did a poll, and you guys can answer live what your thoughts are, because I'm going to be asking people to answer on the post. Probably post it tomorrow. But I said, if you met someone who is amazing, okay, let's say from a woman's perspective, the guy is super, super sweet. He's very attentive. He's totally consistent, and very, very emotionally mature. Just everything you've asked for. But he works insane hours. So I'm talking 6 days a week, sometimes 7, and 12-hour days. Goes in before the sun practically comes up, and then comes home at night when it's dark. Would that person still be amazing? So had an interesting conversation, which started that debate. And, the person who was disagreeing with me kept saying, but how about the amazingness? What about the amazingness? And I said, I feel like it's like having a delicious meal, but it's under a dome. You can't get to it. It's like having the cake and not being able to eat it too. So who cares about someone being super amazing? All that amazing energy is going to build up into the desire to spend time, and then you won't be able to spend time. So it'd be interesting to see. Okay, so answer if it's worth it or not worth it. He says work-life balance. Yeah. And I hate to be, what's the word? Pessimistic, I guess, or morbid, but you don't know how long you have. So, those people who just grind, you I do feel like you have to have a little bit of balance. People always want a finished product, though. You have to meet people where they are, grow and compromise and move forward together. I do agree. It takes a lot of, I don't even know if it's discipline. That is taxing. It's very, very taxing when emotions are involved. You cannot see someone. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys have to say on that. Okay. Pros and cons to long distance. Long distance works if you're both focused on careers or are in pivotal points in life. I heard somebody say this regarding long distance, that there were three things. I don't know if I remember all three, but they said if you're going to do long distance, you need to have a plan. It can't just be this, big question mark about when things are going to change. There needs to be a plan to where you're both in the same place. So whether it's 6 months, a year, there should be a solid plan. And 2, you should have finances together, because it gets very expensive traveling. Everyone always says, oh, there's such a thing as planes, trains, and automobiles. Yeah, there are, but that takes a lot of money. And if you have a 9 to 5, you don't have a lot of downtime. So half your time is going to be spent traveling. You're not actually together. And I don't remember the third one. Sorry, guys, about my allergies. Okay. Truly Katie says, not worth it. Sounds like he's in a season of grind, not really available to build a relationship. Agree with the plan, give you something to look forward to. Speaking from experience. Have a plan, resources, and meet early. Absolutely. I could not be months into it and have not met. I definitely think there should be an initial meet. And it's similar to the dating app situation. Meet on the early end. So, hey, John, shout out to you tuning in. He's got a great podcast, you guys, so check him out. So let's see. Do we have any other questions? I think I got through. Oh, no, there's another one. Okay. Liberty Grace says, oh, that sounds pretty. I'm ready to start dating again after 5 years. I feel so awkward. I was married and in a relationship for 15 years. Share your wisdom on how to begin again. I don't have the capacity to date multiple persons at once. I don't know if I have wisdom, but I'll share with what I know. I think it's really important to get to know yourself, as, cliche as that sounds. When you are in a long situation, you tend to adjust to your partner. And that's good to be able to grow when you're in this situation. He said, ooh, start slow, right? So I think it's important to, one, take time to kind of decompress. I remember feeling like I was ready to date. This is embarrassing looking back, but I remember thinking I wasn't ready to date. And the first couple of dates, I was just talking about my past relationship. Might have been some tears. Super awkward. But it's healing. And the thing is I think there's such an excitement about getting back out there, and you think that you're healed because you're maybe not in the position you were before. But I just think time is good. I don't know the exact time for, I think each person is probably different. But I definitely think that having time to kind of decompress, work through your feelings and emotions, and really see what you like to do. I think that's a great start. My mother actually gave me some very great advice on dating years ago. And she was saying, just do things that you enjoy doing. And then when you naturally meet people, you already have something in common. So, I would just say go out there and really try to enjoy life. I think it was 2017 and I called it my year of yes. I tried to really be open-minded and just try new things, go new places, just really open up, because I kind of had gotten into a rut of doing the same things all the time. And so even if you hate something, at least try it once. You'd be surprised at the things that you would be interested in doing. I hope that answers your question. Okay. My throat always gets dry. Okay, for an initial meetup in a long distance situation, what advice would you give to women from funding to length of the trip? Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, so we had a little debate. My girl Winter Williams and I, we were talking about this, and we were on polar ends of the conversation. So you guys can say, oh, I like that for you, Liberty. You guys can say whether you agree with me or you're more on Winter's side. But you have two things. You can have the woman stay in her area and the guy comes out to her. And then the downside is that he doesn't know the area to be able to show her around. Or you can have the woman go out to him and then he obviously can show her around. I have actually been on both sides of the argument at different points in my life. But today, the side I'm on is I actually prefer for the person to come to me. And the reason because, one, there's safety, right? You're there with your people and your turf, and you can go back to your house. If the guy is bringing you out and he's paying for things, because most guys are gentlemen, right? There aren't a lot of guys who are like, hey, fund your own self. There's still a lot of gentlemen. So let's just say that he flies you out. Well, now you're dependent on him. And so even if you have money where you're not stuck, if you do have to spend your own money, that's a trip that you hadn't expected to pay for, right? So he could potentially mess things up, or you might not like him. Different things can happen. So I don't like that for the first, because the question was specific about the first visit. So for the very, very first visit, I would not want to be on his turf if it's regarding traveling and all that. And I'm one of the few women who don't like traveling. I really don't. I hate packing. I get anxiety when I'm packing because I have to think in advance of what outfits and what am I going to need. Am I going to forget something? And you can only bring so much of this product and all that. So I actually don't enjoy it. I don't like sitting on the planes. I get restless legs. It's just a lot. So I would feel much more relaxed if it was on my turf. He's showing up. I'm having a chance to, be prepared. So I love that. John says he agrees. So what do you think? Do you like going to his place, his environment, his state, or would you want the guy to come to your state? Be interesting to hear. Now, after that's been worked out, cool. You guys can take turns going back and forth. But, okay, let's see. Oh, and the length of the trip. Okay, so he also asked for the length of the trip. I think that for the first trip, it shouldn't be too long, because what if it's super awkward? What if you get there, there's no chemistry, or they're just not the same person you thought? Now you're stuck there. So I would say maybe like 2 days is good, because if it's good, then you have a full 2 days to enjoy each other. If it's not good, 2 days can go by quickly. You can entertain yourself the second day. Isn't the guy taking the same risk traveling to her? Absolutely. But we're speaking from the woman's perspective. Oh, John said the same thing, 2 days. Yes, I'm giving advice to women. So yes, you definitely are taking the risk, Yvonne. I am biased. I will not act like I'm not. Truly says, preferably come to mine, although meeting in the middle could be new and fun. It definitely could be. Okay. Oh, shoot. There was a question. Did I hit delete or did you guys hit delete? There was another question I was just going to ask right now. Hopefully you remember what it was. Oh, shoot. I think I might have accidentally deleted it. Okay, so if you remember whose question was on there and you feel like retyping it, please do that. I don't know what happened. Okay. Oh, no. How to know if your wife is a narcissist. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, there it's back. Because I just saw it. Okay, while on vacation, I was love bombed by a Lyft driver, suspicious of love at first sight. Okay, so I'm going to get to the narcissist question next. So the love bombing, I actually did a post recently about that. And it is definitely, okay, it's so similar to something that's positive that I think it's really important to understand the context. You cannot take the one aspect and say, oh, it's definitely this or definitely that. You have to look at it in the totality of everything going on. So love bombing essentially is being bombed with love and affection. So it could be gifts, showering you with praise, constantly trying to see you, always wanting to talk to you, things like that. Now, that could be someone who's genuinely head over heels and that's how they display their love. That is not bad in and of itself. The problem comes in when that person does not care about your space. So maybe for you, you only want to talk once a day. They're going to get irritated if they can't get a hold of you multiple times a day, or if you only want to see them once a week, and they'll get upset if they can't see you, or they want to become physical before you are. When they're not, when they are not considerate of your desires, that is a red flag. Another one is if they're trying to rush you into a commitment. And again, like for me, I got engaged within 3 months, but he was definitely not pressuring me. It was a mutual thing. We both wanted to be engaged. But when somebody is really, really, really trying to rush you into the next phase, trying to rush you into a committed relationship, he's trying to rush you into getting engaged, he's trying to rush you into getting married, and you don't feel like you've had a chance to take the time to vet each other, that's a huge sign. So go with your gut. The other thing is like the person just going over the top with these proclamations when they don't know you. It's one thing to say, oh, you're really pretty, or I like spending time with you. But to be like, you're the most amazing person in the world when you've just had a couple conversations, I would definitely be like, one eye open. Okay, so how to know if your wife is a narcissist. So it's been a while since I've actually studied the specific signs of narcissism. But I would say if you are in a place where you are starting to feel like you're losing a grasp on who you are, your sanity, one of the things that I saw that was like dead on was if you feel like you have to record conversations or take notes. Narcissists tend to never own up to their stuff, and it's such a trending word right now. So I kind of paused with that question because a lot of times people will throw narcissism around or even gaslighting, things like that, and it's not necessarily the exact scenario. So I would do some YouTube searches on that. There are people who are professionals specifically on narcissism, and I've done a lot of research on that. But the biggest thing is they're just all about themselves. It's like the ultimate in self-centeredness. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you think. And you're never going to feel good around a narcissist unless they want you to feel good. So they'll do what they need to do to kind of butter you up, and then they will just flip on you, Jekyll and Hyde. So that's really tough. And this is why I always say, yeah, they're definitely not empathetic and never remorseful. Thank you, Lily. Lily. When dating, the most important thing for me is kindness, because if you have pride or self-centeredness, those are two things that cannot be dealt with. Those are the ultimate red flags. Those are the do not pass go. That's not an opinion. That is a deal breaker, because pride will keep you from doing the right thing, even though you know you should. I know I should say sorry. Oh, I know I should do, but you won't do it because you're pride. So you can never have a successful relationship with someone with pride. And then self-centeredness, they also know what's right, but they more prioritize themselves. So I know my wife would really like this, but I would rather do this. Or I know my husband deserves this, but I would rather have that. Self-centeredness. An example would be, I know he works all day and he's really, really exhausted, but I just really want this trip, or I want this bag. As opposed to, you know what, let me just go to Target and get something more practical, because if I get this bag, he's going to have to take on so many more shifts. So those two things are huge red flags. And if you're dating someone and you're taking notes of little issues you're having, always see if those are the roots, if those are the root causes of that. Because self-centeredness will also allow somebody to lie. If they're so focused on themselves, they will justify their behavior. Well, I really wanted this, or I didn't want them to be mad at me. So it's all about how they are going to feel. So it's kind of like these evil roots to so many branches that come out of it. Thank you, Padilla. Um, okay. It seems rare, excuse me, to find someone you connect with. Any examples for how to pace yourself? I don't understand the pace question in correlation with finding someone to connect with. So can you give me a little more context for that one, Truly? And I like that you said this. I think it's very true that it's rare to find someone you connect with. I think it's important, and I cannot state this enough. I think I was even telling someone this today. It is so rare to meet someone that you are connected with. There are so many layers that you have to consider. You know, obviously you want to be physically attracted. That's the thing we see first. But you have personality, schedule, lifestyle, faith, temperament. There are all these things that you have to try to connect. I say it's like those balls that have the little spikes. You're trying to connect all these things, and on top of that, both of you have to be attracted to each other. So this idea that, oh, if I just get on a dating app, I should have my person in a couple weeks, or I'm going to put myself out there. Okay, I'm going to meet someone by the summertime. It's not really realistic. And I think that if the idea was pushed more that this is a once in a lifetime thing sometimes, or this could take 10 years, I think that it would take a lot of pressure off of us, because we might feel like, oh, I went to this one event and there were a lot of eligible guys there. Well, why didn't I get picked up on? Or why did I went on 6 dates and I didn't meet my person? It takes a lot to find that right person or to meet that person. And so we can't have this expectation that it's just going to happen immediately. It's really important to have fun when you're dating. And instead of looking at it as these giant check boxes, like it's either the one or a bust, there should just be, I'm just going to enjoy myself, and whatever happens, happens. Not everybody is going to be your person, but you could really have a great time in the process. All right, I think I caught up with all the questions. Hey, Adam. Trying to think, is there anything else? I want to see if I covered everything I wanted to cover. She said, I'm a hermit too, so where should I go to find someone? Where did you go? Well, see, I'm terrible because I'm a hermit. For me, I've always had success. I've had the most success, I should say, with apps. But I have one friend in particular. He's actually in my industry as well, and he beats me up. He's like, you don't ever get out there. So I said this year I was going to make it a point to go to more events and things like that. But I'm pretty content right now where I am, so I actually might not even do it. But for me, I enjoy the apps. It just works for me because I'm just lazy. But I own it, and I don't complain about my situation because I'm the one who's causing it. So if that answers the question. I know when I got married, I met my husband at work. So a lot of people meet their person at their place of employment. But I did a post. I don't know if you guys saw it. I did a post a couple weeks ago. The 7 great places to meet men offline. I actually did 2, so I guess it'll be 14. But there are a lot of great suggestions on there. And I don't mean to toot my horn. I did research, so it wasn't like I came up with them. But a lot of great places to meet. But getting out there. And one of the biggest things that I would say is when you do go out, make sure you're presentable. I don't mean go crazy and have a full beat and, look like your prom hair. But how many times do we just say, oh, I'm just going to run to Target, what have you, and we look crazy. And it's like, oh, I hope I don't see anybody I know. Well, you never know. There could have been somebody that would have spoken to you. And so take that little extra time and make sure you look presentable, because every time you go out somewhere, there's an opportunity to meet someone. You could be grabbing lunch and you could see someone in the parking lot. Anywho, this has been fun. I think that, she said I'm so bad about that. Me too. The older I get, the more I'm just like, I'm comfortable. I am comfortable. Y'all see I didn't even get dolled up for this live. I said they're gonna get some lip gloss and my glasses because it is what it is. Is there a time frame for getting to know someone from girlfriend to fiance to bride? Great question. Okay, so I personally like to look at 90 days as a discovery phase. I did a video called the discovery phase. Now tights and sweatshirts can be cute if you got yourself together though. But I did a video called 90-day discovery phase, and the reason why is because unless a person is a psychopath, it's really hard to keep up a facade for more than 30 days. So if you go 90 days, you really get a chance to get past the false representative. Even if they're not trying to be evil, everyone's just on their best behavior. So once you get past 90 days, you just start to see the relaxed version of the person, as opposed to the, it's like when you first go to a job and you're just at the top of your game. That's not going to be what they're going to get for the 5 years you're there, right? So you'll start to see them. Also, this gives you an opportunity to have more times where you can see them through different seasons, as I call it. You want to see the person when they're angry, when they're disappointed, when they're happy, when they're scared. You want to give as much time to see those seasons. So I would say, for me, I would want at least 90 days before saying, this is my boo. We go together. I'm exclusive. Now, I might be giving them exclusive energy. I might not be not seeing anyone else. But I would not want them to feel like they were in an exclusive relationship with me for at least those 90 days. And then as far as fiance, this is like a gamble. So there are people who got married. Oh, perfect. Okay, she said that's what she meant by pacing. There are people who got married after 2 weeks of knowing each other, and it's worked, right? I got married 3 months in, and I think that if I had done the work myself, I probably could still be married. And I think it was more so I was not in a good place when I got into the situation. There were so many things I hadn't developed at 23 that if I were to meet someone now, I think I have a better understanding of what I need and what to look for. So I'm not going to say it can't happen, but I'm always going to rule on the side of caution. So I would say, for me, a year minimum before I'm even getting engaged. And then after I'm engaged, I would want at least 6 months to still, prepare for the wedding and things like that. So I would say between 6 months and a year of engagement, and then getting married. So at the married mark, you're at least a year and a half or 2 years in. I just think that there are so many things that come up that you're not aware of. It's funny. I'm a big fan of the reality shows. I like Love is Blind and things like that. So these people get together and then you watch them go through different things. And it's funny because it'll be a couple months in and they'll discover something that's huge. Like, oh, you have $70,000 of school loans or school debt, or, I don't know, just all these different things that have come up. I was just thinking about a recent one where the guy found out that his fiance is on the deed with her ex-boyfriend because they were into real estate. So there's so much stuff, and the person isn't necessarily trying to be deceitful. It's just, how do you tell your entire life of facts to a person? Just some stuff, it's going to take time for it to all organically come out. Or you'll see them in different scenarios. Like, wow, when he's under stress, he drinks a lot. Or this person has issues with their family. There's so many things that it's not going to come out right away. So I remember my father said that. He goes, you'll never regret taking longer when it comes to getting to know somebody. And I think if they're the right person for you, they're going to go at the pace that you feel good about. Does that help you guys? Okay. Is that it? I think it's been almost an hour that I have been on here. I always enjoy this. I'm just going to scroll through and make sure I didn't miss anything. Thanks for the loves. Oh, I forgot to ask you guys, if you're enjoying this live stream, feel free to get a badge. It's really, really, really helpful. I do this full time. And one of the things that I really like about this, being a single mom, is that it allows me to work with my daughter. And I'm really excited because she just got one of her best grades yet. Hey, Winter, I was just talking about you. She got a really good grade. And so knowing that she does a online schooling. So being able to spend time with her, as much time as she needs, helping her with projects and things like that, it's great. And it allows me to create content from a place where I don't have to make it. It's things that I've had a chance to take time and, really enjoy doing. So anyone who wants to get a badge, it's very, very grateful. I always forget to mention that if you're enjoying this. Let's see. I saw you, girl. Winter was beat today. I saw her live stream just before I came on here. But I think that's it, you guys. We did quite a few questions in an hour. I'll give you guys one more opportunity if anyone has any final questions. Oh, and I do want to ask this before I go. So I have been wanting to do a class. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. Liz was the first one to get a badge. Shout out to you, girl. Thank you. There is a class that I have been wanting to work on. I actually put it off for a couple of months because frankly, I felt really overwhelmed, which is why I took my month-long hiatus. But I'm doing a class on the basics, like dating 101, understanding what men, the minds of men, what they are looking for just in general. Like there are certain things that in general women are looking for, consistency, provider, whatever. But going over the generic stuff that men are consistently looking for, and then giving the basic tools, like what I give with my one-on-one clients, giving them the tools of how to feel confident going into the date. So if that's something you guys are interested, write the word interested. I'm going to be doing a survey through my email list soon to see if that's something you guys are interested in. And it's going to be super inexpensive. It'll probably be like a $30 class through Zoom or something. But if that is something you're interested in, because I get a lot of questions on a lot of the basics of dating, kind of like the questions that we're asking tonight. So we have one person saying they're interested. Shout out. So I won't say anyone's names. I see one of my clients on here. Shout out to you, love. You know who you are. Actually, I saw two of you on here tonight. But I want to go over the basics. There are so many things I think as women, we stress ourselves out about. We don't enjoy the dating process. And then ironically, the very things that are stressful to us are turnoffs to men. So I want to educate as many women as possible. So if that's something that you're interested, comment interested. Perfect. I see you too, Foxy. And if you're not on my email list, DM me and I'll send you the information because I changed the link in my bio. It doesn't have my information there anymore. But DM me that you want to get on my email list because that way when the invitation comes out, you guys will get that. But I really want to share this stuff because I think it'll be super, super interesting. Okay, good. So I know there are men on here too, so it's good to know that the women are interested. Perfect. Looking forward to talking to you too, love. Okay, so I see a question. How do you give trust after narcissists destroyed you and made you skeptical of everything? Ooh, yeah, that'll be a good question. And I'm also going to be giving, perfect. I'm going to be giving a Q&A session at the end. So I'll have a portion where it's just like the stuff that I plan to talk about. And then afterwards, you guys can stick around and then you can have the conversation. The last time I did it was really great because it's one thing if you're trying to type your question, but when you're live, you can give context and all that. Oh, good. Okay. All right, so the first question, if the person's dragging their feet to move forward, do you tell a time frame of what you expect? I personally would not. I believe that actions speak louder than words. And also, I think it's really important. This is one of the foundation stuff that I'm going to be teaching in the class. You truly want a man who is motivated. You truly want a guy who is head over heels in love with you. He is terrified of losing you. He just puts you on this place. Most men, when they are really deeply in love with a woman, they don't want to lose her. And so they are the ones who will be pushing for that relationship. So I would say that would be an opportunity to observe. And this is why also the whole titles thing is tough because if you get a title of a girlfriend, that can be for some men a layaway program. Cool, got her off the market and I don't have to worry about her. And you could unintentionally be on layaway for 8 to 10 years. I advise people to go really slowly, get on the same page before you commit. Like, hey, what is your goal? Oh, I would like to be married in a year. Okay, cool. And we'll talk about that in the class too. When to bring things up, if you should bring stuff up, that type of stuff, right? But talking to people who aren't in a relationship, these are things you want to notice and pay attention to. Don't just get excited about getting the title of girlfriend. You want to make sure that you're getting into something that you're on the same page. But if you're in the situation, it doesn't hurt to pull back. It doesn't hurt to say, I don't know, I don't know if we're on the same page, and start seeing other people, or maybe this isn't the right situation. I know that with R.C. Blakes, Bishop Blakes, he came on a while back. I don't know if he's still on here, but he famously tells a story about how he was dating his now wife, but he told her directly, I don't think that I want to get married. And I don't know if it was because he had been married before and he was burnt, on the idea of marriage or what it was, but at some point he was honest with her. And she didn't say this literally, but basically she was like, say less. Devastated inside, but she was cool as a cucumber from the outside. Went on, lived her best life, got engaged. I think she got engaged, or she was either dating or got engaged to a professional athlete. Like, she moved on, and he had the aha moment, like, oh, this is the woman that I want. So one of the biggest things I have to say to women is we have to know our value, and we have to be okay with walking away. We have to. And we have to get this idea out of our mind that if I can just get married, it'll be okay. No, you need a guy who is smitten. Smitten. Because a guy who is smitten will always be afraid of losing you, and a man who's afraid of losing you will treat you the right way. If he takes you for granted, that's the kind of guy who's going to take risks. He's going to risk cheating. He's going to risk not giving you attention. He's going to risk, asking you to do things that he normally wouldn't do. So it's so important that you have these tools that I'm going to be teaching you guys about what to look for as far as the qualities in a man. It goes beyond how financially successful he is. It goes beyond how emotionally intelligent he is. There are certain things you need to look for to see how he cares about you, because he could be sexually attracted to you, enjoy your friendship. He can like all these things about you, but not be smitten. He could easily live without you. Okay? And you want to wait for the guy who cannot imagine living without you. Thank you, love. Okay. Say a man realizes his woman is masculine and disagreeable and wants to address it. How can that be facilitated? Ew. That is rough. So it depends on if that person, the other person, is in a position to want to receive constructive criticism. Thank you, love. I will more than likely post it on YouTube. That's typically where I put my live. See, does it cut out? I get the little message that says it's reconnecting, so I don't know if it cuts out when it does that, guys. That's why I keep pausing. But here's the thing. If you're in a situation with a person, it all depends on if they are willing to receive criticism. I had somebody reach out today for coaching, and she was saying that she has received negative feedback from her partner and she really wants to work on it. And I told her that's amazing, because a lot of times people just get defensive. So the fact that she's willing to get professional help to overcome these issues is huge. So I would just say it depends on if your person is open to receiving feedback. And I would say it's really important when you're giving someone feedback to give them solutions rather than this energy, right? Like if you just, I don't like that. Instead of saying, I don't like that, if you say, I prefer this, or if you're looking for this, this is the best way to get it, that feels more constructive, and it will, I think it helps people be a little bit less defensive. So let's just say if there are times that she does do things right, I would put an emphasis on that. Oh, I love it when you ask that way, or I love it when you're so sweet, or I would focus on incorporating in reaffirming when she does do things the right way, because people could be very, very sensitive. So I would just say be very sensitive. I would also add in there like what you just like in general, so that it doesn't seem like you're attacking her as a person, but just there's this little piece over here that, can we address this? And it'll be interesting to know, is this a spouse or someone you're just casually dating? Okay. When a person has been single for a long time, is it more likely that a person is afraid to get involved in a committed relationship or marriage? It is a possibility. I think what I've heard people say more so is that they get set in their ways. So you have to be very open to adjustments. If you live on your own, you get to choose how messy or clean your house is. You get to decide when to eat. You can decide if you're a morning person or an evening person, if you're a hermit or you go out. But if you get in a relationship, now you have to be considerate of the other person. So maybe that person likes to stay up. Now you got to deal with the TV being on, maybe, or the lights being on, or maybe this person's a hermit and you're itching to get out. So I think a lot of times it's people get more so set in their ways than necessarily like a fear of getting in a relationship. And then sometimes it's the other way around. If they're single for a long time, like they're over it. So I think I don't necessarily know that there's one general way that people are. What do you guys think? Kay says, is there a timeline when to start dating post-divorce? I would say one of the good rules of thumb is if you can talk about your story without crying. If you can talk about your situation without crying, if you can, shout out to my cousin. If you can get through an entire date without mentioning your ex at all, that's a good sign. Like I said, that's a serious situation when you are married, and so it takes a while. It takes a while to be in a good place and kind of reestablish your. Hey, Camry. Hey, my OG Facebook crew. That is my girl. She used to have me hollering. Camry got all the dating tea when I was first divorced. But I think that maybe a couple months to a year, I'm just kind of pulling the number out of my head, but it takes time to set up your own life. And it's kind of like, I don't want to say PTSD, but it's like there are so many lingering feelings. You are still feeling through your way. Like once you get divorced, there are still things that you're still logistically figuring out, especially if you have kids. Because it's one thing to put it on paper and say this is how things are going to work, but taxes will come up, or holidays will come up, or just things that maybe you haven't thought about. And so there are a lot of firsts. So I would just say at least a couple months, maybe to a year. Or if you do date, lead with that. Hey, I just got out of something. I just want things casual. I just want things to be casual. I'm not really in a place to commit. But what's funny is, life is so messy and unplanned that I could give this advice and you could meet somebody 6 weeks after a divorce. You just don't know. But definitely, you do not want to date if you feel sad that you're alone. You never want to date from a place of desperation. Like, I hate being by myself. Let me find somebody. Okay, she said, as important as anything else to have an incredibly fulfilling, mutually giving, loving relationship with someone I can confidently call my best friend and willing accomplice. I like that. Willing accomplice. Am I asking too much? I don't think so. I don't think what you said is asking too much. Okay, not a dating. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that word means. All right, guys. So like I said, I'll be doing that class very soon. And depending on how the first couple ones go, I might offer it like twice a month or something like that. Probably like on a Thursday night or something. But make sure you DM me and let me know if you're not on my email list so that I could send you that. I could send you the link to sign up for the email list, and then I'll be sending that out in the near future. But I'm excited to do that class. It seems like a lot of you guys would be interested in that. Like I said, it's gonna be super affordable. This is the cheapest one I've ever done, so that'll be cool. Hey, Camry. So the class is going over the basics of dating, just basic 101, like if you could take a college class. The absolute basics, the things that men pretty much all have in common. I've interviewed lots and lots of guys, and I have about 20 years of my experience. But just what men are looking for, and then the overall foundation of what women need to go into a relationship and dating in a healthy way. So doing that groundwork, essentially having a life, having good self-esteem, self-love, and then just feeling equipped to go into dates. I want women coming out of that class to feel super, super confident going and talking to men, like if they're approached, talking to men, going on dates with these men, and then be very confident in their evaluation. I don't want them to waffle and say, oh, is this a big deal? Is this not a big deal? Whether everybody's basic needs and deal breakers. So you have this structure that every guy that you meet, you can line him up with this, as opposed to every single guy, you're on this roller coaster. You should have your blueprint set out of this is what I want, this is what I don't want, these are the red flags, and sticking to that. Once you stick to that, then you're going to be good to go. And you can also have your little checklist that when you are going on a date, remember, these are the things I need to keep in mind, these are the things that I shouldn't be doing, this is the mindset I should have when I'm going on a date, etc., etc. So, super helpful information. And it'll be a group class on Zoom. And I'll be sending out the information via email. So that's why I was saying, if anyone who is on here who is not yet on my email list, just DM me, because I took the link temporarily down out of my my bio. So you guys can't just go there and add yourself to my list at this moment. Okay? All right, guys. I had a ton of fun with you. Enjoyed the conversation. I love it when you guys submit questions. It keeps it interesting. And I'll be doing this again soon. Have a good night, guys.